We back. This feels super weird, so bear with me. My expert opinion, biggest show in the world. You already know the rhetoric. Hit that like, hit that share, let everybody know you in here. Don't cost you no paper unless you's a mother hater. To the right, homie champ.
How are you, brother?
Salute, King. Respect. Sean Bigger, man of God. Peanut gallery in the back with nothing but no peanuts in sight.
Positive vibrations.
Today, we get to talk about a subject everybody knows, everybody loves, most people want, few people have. People spend a lot of time trying to get to it and don't know what to do with it once they have it. No, I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about the other thing that everybody wants. And we have 3 experts in the field. I consider them experts. Sit here and walk us through this thing. And it's a murderer's row, and you'll see why. Number 1, the homie, FUBU, and many other, and all the other Black-owned apparel that came from that, showed a bunch of people how to do it. The homie Jay Allison. And right next to him, I'm not even gonna go into individual names because you probably already know who they are. So I'll just say these 2 dudes are sought after to see where you can spend your money, where it makes sense. And even that's a metaphor that I didn't mean to make. Earn your leisures in the building, yo. Fresh off the flight from Dubai, came in here starting on us for no reason whatsoever.
Jet lag like a mom.
Had the nerve to ask for a haircut. Disrespectful. So I said the first question would be a little wild. Math always asks like some wild ass question.
Off the wall. Yeah, I don't. What is it gonna be? I need to hear this.
So, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Is it indeed tricking if you've got it?
Very insightful question.
Man, y'all out here starting this $500 date and running dudes out the cypher. All these guys gotta get out the game.
Pay like you weigh.
Yeah,
oh man.
Some dudes in here was doing good, then you up the price. Like he was cool in his $200 chair. You just priced him out for no reason. Like,
shit we wasn't even thinking about.
Yeah.
Thinking about like, damn.
Now all of a sudden these chicks who was cool with Applebee's got standards.
Friday.
Thanks to y'all asses.
It ain't Fridays no more.
For real.
I gotta dial that back, yo.
Well, let me say this, because for full clarity, and I said this a few times, but I never said you had to spend $500. I never said that was a requirement. It was asked of me what I would do if I'm going on a date. And I broke it down, like if you're in New York City, right, you go to, I would say STK, but shout out to my guy, Don Poole, who's just with him. So if you go to Brooklyn Chop House, right,
yeah, shout
which is
Don
a restaurant that I would like to support more than STK. You go to Brooklyn Chop House, you having a nice, dinner. You might order some appetizers, you order a couple of drinks, you got to pay for parking. That alone is probably $250, $300. Like just on that, right? And then
Uber.
I'm just saying, as far as like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, then you might want to go to a hookah lounge afterwards. So it's not inconceivable that you're going to spend $500 on it.
I think the average is $350.
Yeah, even that. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's still kind of in that range though, right? Like it could go.
That ain't Applebee's.
No, it really ain't. See, I think the issue, I think the problem when you threw that out there is you never said you had to spend $500. But you also never told the women that, you never said that to the girls. You never said to the ladies, hey, fellas don't have to spend $500 on you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of these things where in life it's very important to use common sense.
Sense ain't never been common. Sense ain't never been common. You just tossed that grenade out there and had all these other brothers jumping on it like.
But it depends on what women we talking about too, though. You know what I mean? If they ain't,
what's
this is velvet, they type. You're like, man, you ain't.
It's also important to understand everybody's in different lanes, right? Somebody might look at 500 and be like, that's nothing. You're a billionaire, you spending, Floyd might spend $10,000 on the first date to fly a girl to Miami. And to him, that's nothing because he has it, right? So it's important to run your race, never feel threatened by anybody. But also it's important to understand that for me personally, if I'm taking a young lady, if I'm investing time in it, my time is very limited. So it's automatically a certain level of pre-qualifications that have to be checked off. You're not spending $500 for somebody that's not worth $500. So that's up to you as a man to understand that you shouldn't just be taking anybody out anyway. You're wasting your time, your energy, and your money if you are doing that. So we got to start, holding ourselves accountable and understanding that, like Kevin Samuel said, rest in peace, if somebody's a dinner scammer, then that's your fault. Now, the dinner scam is the whole thing. It's the whole thing.
Yeah, no, it is.
It's the whole
It is.
thing.
It is.
So if
A lot of women I've dated told me about
if somebody's a dinner scammer,
You said you dated someone?
No, I've dated women
he got put
who-
on. They told him.
Yeah,
about it.
after the fact.
That's
I think
that's
we
your
may
fault
have
for even getting
all-
put in that situation.
I'm not sure if there's a way around
Nah, come
a
on.
dinner scammer.
You're supposed to do enough research to understand that somebody's
Who's
only-
researching? First
Just-
of all,
just
you're
from a-
not taking her out if you think she's on that kind of.
First of all,
Exactly. That's my
you're
point.
you're eating what you like to eat.
Exactly.
Like if I'm eating what I like to eat, I'm going where I like to go. If I let that's prerogative. Like that's my prerogative. You're just there for company.
Yeah, what's the
It ain't
odds?
about you. It's about me.
That's what I'm saying. Like you're gonna go where you like, right? So what's the odds of you having a second date if you take it to Applebee's on the first one?
I'm gonna completely answer all three of y'all.
It depends on what
In one
class
spin.
of woman she is.
Yeah.
In one spin. We just got finished talking about being accountable. A lot of things that come with accountability is knowing yourself, right? You three gentlemen know yourselves, which is why you're in the position that you're in. Most dudes, 85% of dudes do 95% of the things they do for women, AKA they're not going where they want to go. They're going where they think the woman wants to go. They're not ordering the food they like. They're ordering the food that they think the woman wants.
That's
They're not getting the drinks that they like. They're getting the drinks that they think she likes.
That's the crazy. You know what the crazy thing about that? And I learned this early on. That's the biggest turnoff for most women. If a woman goes out with you and they say, "Where we going?" and you say, "Where do you want to go?" That you have no backbone. Like you're not a leader. That's a red flag right away for most women. Like you're supposed to have some level of knowing what's going to happen. Like this is where we're going. Da, da, da. Now, if she's saying like, "Oh, I don't want to go there," then that's reasonable. But you saying, "Where do you want to go?" You automatically you're
just
following
gave
her.
up your power.
Even in those,
Gave up your
even in
power.
those scenarios when
Doing
you
that.
asking like, what do you want to get? Like some of these dudes, like, what do you expect to do? Split the bill at the end of the night? Like, are you saying you got half? I got the other. Like, how does that even work? I mean,
I just thought it was automatic. Like
Yeah.
even as a kid,
As a
growing up
man.
around my moms and my grandmother, like they went out on dates and the men will come, they show chivalry, all these different things. So I learned from an early age, like, yes, it is. I'm on some stuff like it's whatever the woman wants, but it's on me to do my homework because I value the woman that I'm taking out.
Yeah.
And then there's no thing where I'm like, yo, the check coming, I'm like, all right, you gonna cash it?
you gonna dump the rest?
Like what we doing?
You
I
gonna
just-
send it a Chase split joint?
Yeah, but then there's a whole ignorance of it too, right? Because there's men, I'm gonna say boys because they're not men in thinking, right?
Yeah.
Where they're sexually driven. So
That's
they're not
exactly what I'm
thinking
talking
straight.
about.
They're not thinking straight off the rip. They're just like, yo, this chick is bad. I'm gonna take her out. I'm gonna show her a good time, and I'm gonna get what I'm looking for at the end of the night.
And
And then when it doesn't happen, when it's not
Right.
reciprocated, they upset.
Yeah.
The expectations is off.
Yeah.
So what do you?
It's a lot of factors to this shit.
So we talked about spending the money.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about making it. All three of you guys have one thing in common. You're all fine. Okay, we can't have a lot of people
Yeah.
walking in and out like
Yeah.
can't do that. All three of you guys. A lot of what you do, from my perspective, I see the way that you're able to attract our people, right? And money's a fickle thing with a lot of us. Our relationships with money are all different. But in the Black community, it's been pretty bad. I think we can agree across the board. Like we're good. We know to save it. We don't know where to spend it. Stocks and certain things feel risky to someone who may be living check to check. We send out a lot of cliches that they send a lot of cliches our way that don't really apply to us in the situations that a lot of us are in. Everybody doesn't have the stones to be an entrepreneur. Everybody doesn't have the guts to invest and bet on themselves when they don't feel they're even sure. And a lot of people don't have the discipline it takes to get sure about where they're going to, the research.
Right.
Most people aren't going to do the research. They want the sexy job. They want it to look, I put it here, I got this back, almost like a drug dealer. You guys have all had to do the research and all had to do the homework. I'm interested in how that started. Like, trying to get the origins here. Like, when did you discover that your relationship with money, or your relationship with product and quality was going to be different than the dude standing next to you?
Yeah, good.
You want some? Who wants? I mean, all right. So you asking when the relationship with money changed?
Please.
I mean, for me, just growing up, like, you know, I grew up a lot different than a lot of my friends. As far as my dad was always an entrepreneur his whole life, and you know, his background, like, you know, he grew up in like Nation of Islam, so they was real big on entrepreneurship, do for self, all
Ownership,
that stuff. That, you know, he always taught me that at a young age. So that was something that I was always like kind of had in my mind, like, don't work for anybody, like work for yourself, like build your own community, self-reliant, stuff like that. That was something like he was real big on teaching me. So I always had that entrepreneurship mindset out the gate, when most people don't think like that. Most people just think just to try to get a job, right? And then from there, I always knew like, all right, this is something that, you know, is interesting to me as far as how to make money and how to do it like in a business standpoint, than just watching films. Like, I used to always watch films, Wall Street, like original Wall Street, Barbarians at the Gate, like all of these films about like white guys on Wall Street, because it was just fascinating to me how they could just make so much money. And it didn't look like they was really doing too much. Like, you know what I mean? Just moving one thing from over here to over here, pushing paper and stuff like that, and they making millions and millions of dollars and just living a life that was just crazy. Penthouses in Manhattan and everything like that. So that was just like, just fascinating me at an early age. So I understood like, okay, like what are they doing? Investing. So then you start to read books like, you know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that when I was like 18 years old. And that changed my whole thinking. That changed my life. Because then I started to understand, okay, this is how it actually works. Like, I got like the idea from my dad, and then I got like the concept from watching movies, and then reading those books. That kind of gave me the real information. I'm like, okay, this is actually how you invest. This is the difference between the asset and liability and setting up a corporation.
And then you started putting it into action.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how it all started for me.
Yeah, I think just growing up, not having it, you know what I'm saying? And not, your parents not having it, and you got to figure out how to get it. So I just remember, even when I was young, like when I was trying to get like a Game Boy, and I was in 3rd grade, and I was like, my parents like, we ain't got it. And I just save up my lunch money, be like, yo, here's $40. I saved up 3 months of lunch money. Just having that mindset of like, I got to do it. So even when I had to get my first car, it was like, I worked all summer to save up. Yo, I'm gonna buy this car. My parents like, where you get the money? I've been saving it. So I always had that mindset, was like, I'm gonna have to get it on my own. Because my parents don't come from a background where they're financially educated. They from Jamaica, you know what I'm saying? So like, I had friends who knew things about finance and were, you know, astute in it, but I was like, how I'm gonna do it? So reading books helped me. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was definitely one of them.
Yes.
Who Moved My Cheese was a big one for me, but hip hop was one. Like, I remember Jay saying like, life's like a treadmill, niggas running in place, getting nowhere fast, a whole year done passed. I was like, oh, I'm sitting there like, damn, what am I gonna do with my life? Like, I remember just wanting to make 6 figures. Like, that was my goal. I just gotta make 6 figures. Like, I don't care how much it is, I just gotta make it. So I was a senior in high school, and I went to my gym teacher. He was cool as shit. I'm like, yo, how much you make, man? And he told me 140,000. I was like, what? Like, I said, you make 140,000? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm in my head, I'm like, you make more than my dad. Like, how? And so he was telling me his base salary is 120. He started coaching sports that like nobody really cared about at our school. Like, our school was just basketball, track, maybe football. He was like the soccer coach. That was 9,000 a season. He was the bowling coach. It's like 3 people who bowled in the whole school. That's like 5,000 for the season. And he was the golf coach. And this is before Tiger. So they like 1 kid on the team, but he's getting 5 bands for it every season. I'm
He
like,
had a budget for all of those
this
sports.
is smart. Like, he really figured this out. I'm like, 140? Bet I'm gonna be a gym teacher. I'm gonna get 140,000. And like, that was my thing. I was like, yeah, I bet. So I was doing that. Then I started reading more. I started learning. Like, I remember buying Business Week for the first time. I was probably like 22, 23, reading the whole thing. And then I was like, yo, I gotta invest in stocks. Like, what are stocks? So I started teaching myself that. Then I started investing. I got a Scott Trade account. I don't even exist anymore. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna invest in these companies. I'm like, all right, this is cool. I make some money. And then 2008 came, and I was like, wait.
Market crash.
I'm like, I've lost some more money. So I started pulling out the money before I could lose it all. It was a valuable lesson learned, because I was investing in Apple right before the iPhone. You see what I'm saying? So I was like,
you rich.
Yeah, bro. I was like, but you gotta go through that. Like, you gotta go through that to understand, like, you gotta have discipline, you gotta have patience, and you gotta have a long-term vision. And so all those things just prepare you for the next thing. So that's where it started, man. It was just like reading, trying to figure it out, surrounding myself with people, right? Like this is my financial advisor. Surrounding yourself with people who have the knowledge and then going and seeking it for yourself.
So you were an educator.
Yeah.
And you were a financial advisor. And y'all.
That's financial literacy right there.
Perfect combination. My bad, Jay.
my story is a little different. It goes kind of really far back. Because again, my pops used to work for this company called Depository Trust Company. They used to move like big time money. So although I've been around money, I've seen and understand. My pops went from clerk to vice president of his company. My mom's always had her own business. So I've seen it, but I didn't actually do it. And the day that my pops was like, okay, well, look, I know what I want to do. I want to be in fashion. He was like, that's great, but I'm not paying for college because I don't think you're going to be able to apply yourself. So he's like, well, either going to go to the military or you're going to go to the military.
Tough choice.
You know what I'm saying? So I want to go in the military, right?
Army or Navy?
Navy.
Pick one.
So the funny story was, I went to the I said, I finally know what I want to do. So I went to the recruiter and I was like, yo, you got any jobs in fashion? And he was like, not really, but you can go to school. So I was like, all right, fine, no problem, whatever. But the school I went to was a school of hard knocks because I went to different countries. I saw how people do stuff. I met people from all over the world. I dealt with people from all over the world. Watched people fashion. So one guy walked around with cowboy boots, other one with Timbs, other one with Chucks. Like you start to see and understand what everybody likes. So that was my education. When I got out, I was like, well, I got on a medical discharge and I was like, yo, I want to do something. But then I hooked up with, again, what you always got to have, like-minded people, individuals. So when I hooked up with Dane had made a hat and it was a tie-top hat. And he was like, look, I'm done. Yo, I was like, yo, but you got this label that said FUBU on it. And I was like, well, look, I'm going to FIT on my scholarship, not scholarship, but my, I forgot what it's called right now. Don't kill me. And I'm going to school for free and I'm in fashion. GI Bill. And I'm working at Macy's at the same time. And I'm like, yo, bro, I could turn this into a clothing line. Now, I don't have I'm just getting educated as we speak. But I had one thing that everybody don't really have. It's called drive. And I explained to these dudes that I could take this and turn it into something else. I took my money that I had $6,000, and I gave Dame $5,000. Shark that he was still to this day.
For 90% of the company.
Shout out to him. And he was like, all right, Jay, go ahead, let's do it. And that's what it's coming from. Because Damon was always an entrepreneur too, though. He would sell like mirrors and shit. He was selling all sorts of shit back in the days. And again, I think it's that Queens thing coming to water. Like we all just gonna figure that shit out. And I always say this shit called, people always look at the shiny object, but they don't understand how that shit got shiny. And that's a really strong point. And we have to really start figuring that shit out. Another thing you learn in the military is called paid attention to detail. So you paid attention to everything you're doing. And another thing you think about is the fact that if I have a partner, right, and I'm on a ship or I'm wherever, that man, I gotta make sure that I save his life or he saves mine, or I have his life in my hands. You treat everything you do as if your life is gonna, is in their hands, then you're gonna make sure you do it right and do it right the first time. Ain't no mess up. Somebody dies if you mess up. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I always look at things, and I just keep going. It may take 2 years, it may take 5 years, it may take 15 years. It is what it is, but I'm gonna keep going because that's just what I am.
I think that's the part that we don't include when we talk about what you need in order to make it. We talk about discipline, we talk about plans, we talk about goals. We don't really talk about patience.
No, and that's the hardest thing in the world.
I think it's what separates legit businessmen from drug dealers. I see drug dealers who want they have the same thing, same visions, same plan. I gotta get it.
Fast.
I just want this. I want this thing. I'm watching these movies. These dudes is making millions of dollars. Like, I gotta figure out how to get to the millions. Like, I got an idea. I got a plan, but it all seems to be, I want it now versus
instant gratification.
I want to plan. Right. I want to plan for it.
But those guys were so educated. they were so good at what they did as far as running a corporation. You know what I'm saying? They ran a big business. They had workers, they had this, that. If they only took that and applied it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because till today, I can go on, used to live between Farmers and Hollis. So I can go on the corner, I can go home, go on the corner, and I can see that same guy there, and he's like, man, I saw you walking with your briefcase towards the train or whatever. And I said, damn. And he's looking like, nah, because you figure you doing it. But that's the short run.
Yeah.
In the long run, where you gonna be?
Yeah, I mean, when you in that mindset of trying to get it fast, the goal is money, right?
That's it.
But once you get the money, then what? That's why I would tell people, like, selling drugs, like, what's the purpose? Just to make money, right? Solely, like, I gotta feed my family, yeah, I gotta feed but it's just to get the money and accumulate as much as possible.
Maybe that's the purpose.
Maybe.
We talked about this a little earlier. There's different reasons for why
we do it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, is that why you were put here?
Got you.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
purpose-wise.
The purpose-wise, that may not be
Gotcha.
why you're put here. Whereas if you are finding the purpose, chasing the purpose, that becomes completely different. Because once you get the money, now you know where you're going to apply it. A lot of times we get the money, and then what? Like we see with our athletes, they have a special talent, they get the money, and what happens in 5 years? It's gone. They don't even know what to do, right? It was like they thought their only purpose was to be an athlete, when they could have been something much bigger that they were skilled at. That'd be the problem a lot of times. It's like we don't know what we're supposed to do. We don't know what our purpose is. We just know that we have a talent or we have a skill that can pay us right now. That's that immediate gratification.
Absolutely. I think additionally, how there'll be somebody like Jay or yourselves that would tell a drug dealer like, yo, I know what you should do with your money. And they'll be like, all right, cool, no problem, right? But they won't listen. They'll hear you out, but they won't listen to you. But they'll go to someone who has a fledgling business already and say, yo, I got the bag. Take this money, make something of it. And we hear that story all the time from where we from. But they take the money out their pocket or whatever they make it and they put it into somebody else or something else. Hip hop, for instance, right? So indirectly, they're investors. They're investors.
Yeah. Lawyers rob you for millions, still you want to put holes in me. Right? That's it, right?
Okay, I can see where this is going.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Partially.
I can see how this is going, bro.
Partially because it's like, if they start understanding that the risk ain't worth the reward, then that's what they do. They push their money off to somebody else and say, yo, make this work for me. Build a business, go rap. I'll pay for your studio time. I'll get your cars. I'll get this, I'll get that.
Can you ever get out, though? You can never get out.
I don't think anybody's looking that far ahead. I honestly don't think anybody's looking that far. Because if you look that far ahead, you probably wouldn't start. If you look that far ahead, the chances that it's a greater chance that most dudes wouldn't get into the streets in general. Everybody since the beginning of time, since the beginning of at least rap, everybody has said the exact same thing about where you're going to end up if you get into the streets. Everybody says it.
I think it's about having the proper information and also having the proper representation. So I don't feel like anybody really has a burning desire to be a drug dealer growing up, but that's an opportunity. And it's a fast track to kind of building some level of financial freedom, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, okay, I don't have to go to college. I don't have to go to medical school for 12 years and be a doctor. Like, I see this on the corner. You can rationalize it. You know there's a chance to go into jail. You know there's a chance of dying. But you also know that there's a chance of making money relatively quickly. Not everybody is a successful drug dealer, but you have an opportunity to be it. And there's no real qualifications.
Right.
So, but now if you can see that same level of opportunity in people that look like you and people that talk like you and people that dress like you in a variety of other different fields where you don't necessarily need those qualifications either, now that gives you inspiration. So like in our neighborhood, all the kids want to be entrepreneurs. They all selling merch. They want to day trade. They want to do crypto because these are all things where you don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to, and it's like not to say that you're going to be the most successful entrepreneur in the world, but you see that that's an avenue.
Right.
You see that that's a possibility, and you see that it's not impossible, and you don't have to risk your life for your freedom, and you can make money, and you can get the same love or even more. Mm-hmm. So it's like when we go to Dyke, man, we sit on the floor. We get the love, like so. It's like Now we've become that level.
I think you guys glamorize money and that whole way of life that as kids, we didn't get really 100% taught that. Like, I don't know any really family that their mom sat them down and said, okay, real estate, this, and this, none of that. But I appreciate y'all guys, what y'all do, because now this next generation can understand that.
And I appreciate that. And it's like Muhammad Ali. I saw Muhammad Ali say something before when he was like, he drives a Rolls Royce, not because he wanted to drive a Rolls Royce, but he felt like his people wouldn't listen to him if he didn't drive a Rolls Royce. He needed to get their attention.
Right.
So he drove a Rolls Royce. He had, fur coat and all of that, because now he can get their attention, and he can start to tell them what he really wanted to teach them, black empowerment, it's all of these things. So it's like, for us, you have to be able to get their attention.
Put the medicine in the candy.
Yeah.
That's it. It's even in education, that would be my first thing. Like working in New York City, it was representation. I was like, how are they gonna see me, right? Because kids you have to be in a position where kids can allow you to be taught. Like some kids, they don't want you to teach them.
Right.
And so when they see me come in with the Nike Tech, they see me coming in with the J's, at the G-Shocks every color. Before I said a word, I look like the dude outside. The dude that they looked up to outside, I look like him in the classroom now. So it don't matter what I say,
You got the attention.
I got the juice in the school now.
Right.
Plus, we're going to talk about hip hop, and I'm going to put it all in the lessons. It's like, oh, wait, this is different.
The Jay-Z bars coming out every
5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? The relatability plus the representation. Then when they go outside and they see me get in the car, it's like, wait, a teacher drive a BMW? Like, oh, wait. It's now something that they can aspire to be.
It's all about perception.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I never heard a kid say, like, I want to be a teacher, but I did hear kids say, I want to be Mr. Millings. You see what I'm saying?
Able to balance it out.
Exactly, because now it's like, oh, it looks cool to be that.
Well, you made it look sexy.
Yes.
And I think a lot of it, I call it the sexy because a lot of us fall for the sexy jobs.
Because remember back in the days when, I don't know, in New York, where it was separated, rap, and it was the corporate dudes. And then it was the
street dudes.
The street dudes. And they were like, they wanted to be so much into hip hop, and they started combining. And all of a sudden, they didn't water them down. Now it's the same. But see, for you guys, y'all done took it and made it the new next level of it, which is great.
Let me tell you something. When I was in prison, I came home last year. The month I came home, there was brothers asking me like, yo, Champ, because we featured y'all before in the magazine in the section about financial literacy, right? And it was like, yo, Champ, who's these dudes? I'm like, yo, these some guys, man, they out there teaching that shit that we need to know, right? So they like, yo, and these are drug dealers. These like hustlers, dudes that was getting to the bag crazy before they got incarcerated. And they like, yo, I want to learn about stocks, bro. I want to learn about day trading. I want to learn about crypto. Like, you need a whole separate magazine just talking about that, bro.
Now,
and I was like, all right, we did.
You know, it's so crazy that you say
dudes
that.
admire y'all that's incarcerated. I just want to tell y'all that.
Yeah, and I already know, because like some of my friends, my cousin, like everybody that when I speak to people in jail, and they're like, yo, you don't understand how much of a following you have inside of here. Like,
absolutely.
I mean, and people's like day trading inside of jail, like, and different stuff like that. And they like, and that's why I said I don't think people have a burning passion to be a drug dealer, but it's entrepreneurial, because everybody in the neighborhood is not going to be a drug dealer, right? But some people, so those people that gravitate towards that, they have an entrepreneurial mindset. They probably don't want to follow some level of structure. They don't want to work a regular job, and they do want money at a very. So it's like those same characteristics are the same characteristics that people on Wall Street have. The same characteristics that people in real estate have. Like, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that when presented with better options, they would take better options. And this is why, like, a lot of people in jails tapped in, because it's like they just wasn't taught that. They didn't know it was available, and they didn't know you could actually make even more money. It's actually even more lucrative most of the time. Most of the time, you're going to be risking your life and your freedom for, in the grand scheme of things, not really a lot of money. Like, if you think about it, 10,000, 20, that's not really money. Even $100,000 is not really real money. So when you start talking about you can make way more than that legally, if you're an intelligent person, you're gonna go to that.
Absolutely.
You know mine, fellas. Learn how to get raped.
You got the glasses on and everything.
They got your notepads.
You don't wear glasses.
What's good, bro? Sean.
I'm not bad. I'm not even bad at the glasses.
How you doing, love?
Apologies, I just came from my own charity event.
Yeah, in Newark, doing some real work.
That's dope.
Dope.
Get your jacket on, bro.
Yeah, y'all keep going.
All right. I hear where we're going. I don't want to skip over you, Jay. As we're sitting here talking about influence, I look back at your track record and see how many people FUBU has influenced. We were talking about that. Like, there's many labels under your belt, and y'all gave birth to so many different people who you inspired to jump out the window and get into fashion to the point where you made being a designer cool in the same way he makes a teacher look cool, the same way he makes a trader look cool. You made being a designer. It wasn't cool like that before. People just wore the clothes. One thing about
From our culture, definitely for sure.
that's the only culture I'm concerned about. Like, we only wore the gear. You made it cool. How was that?
We concentrated our thoughts around the fact that we know what people want to wear because we are the customer. So it was just easy. Again, like I bring it back to the military where I would go, I'd be dealing with somebody from Kentucky, somebody from Missouri, somebody from LA. So I'm looking at everybody, what everybody wears, why they wear it, how they wear it. I'm probably scan everybody in this room and watch. I know exactly what everybody has on and why they have it on. You know what I'm saying? And once you have that knowledge, it's pretty easy just to kind of keep going. Because if I'm not faking it, I am who I am. Mm-hmm. I know what I know, and I present what I present. I make what I like. Obviously, everyone else likes it because, I'm in business 30 years.
How much does the representation matter on the other side? In other words, I know that all three of y'all deal with corporate people. We walk into meetings looking a certain way.
Oh man,
they're gonna act a certain way. Mm-hmm. How much juice do you need in order to walk in? When I first started, right? I used to just wear whatever. That's all I really had, to be honest. We ain't had that much money. So when I took some money, I had to buy slacks and a shirt because that's when I made another phrase, dress how you want to be addressed. Because I would go to these meetings, I'd go there, try to get fabric, I'd go there, talk to a manufacturer, and he'd look at me like I got 4 heads, 6 arms. I'm like, get this nigga out of here. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to necessarily conform, but it did get to the point where then I could do what I want to do. But you have to, the problem is I think automatically everybody wants to do what they want to do. From the start.
You can't do that. So I could tell you a quick story real quick. Damon and I was in the office. We had this huge foyer office, right in the lobby, I should say. You walk in the lobby, you sit down. Some guy came over to the counter and was like, the desk was like, hey, I want to meet with such and such and such. So we sitting looking like, who the fuck is this guy? Whatever. Long story short, my guy tells him to hold on, go sit down. So Dame and I sitting there. Dame had a chain on. I was always diamond out. I was stupid. And
the right attire.
I was ridiculous. And he's like, well, damn, they must pay you good around here.
Wow.
Dame and I looked at each other. Before I could say something, Damon said, get the fuck out of my office. I don't give a fuck. Well, I'm going to see I'm here to see. Well, first of all, if you're here to see somebody, you should know what the fuck you want to see. You should do your research. So again, once you get that power, you can do what you want. Now, even when I got to the point of I can wear what I want, everything I wore is mine. You know what I'm saying? And that's when you have real power. Because I can wear my own suit. I can wear my own shoes. I can wear my own watch. I can wear my own underwear. I can wear my own socks. I can wear my own coat. I could drive my car with my own goddamn rims.
That's the power of influence, though, right there. Like, Like I remember watching them on Video Music Box. Like
Facts.
I remember like Ralph McDaniels coming to Queens, being in front of the house and talking about this label. I'm like, yo, what is this? But like that influence is like trickles down to where it's like, I remember when they was like wearing the t-shirts and then LL did the joint and then it was like, oh, they gotta wear suits. They made their own. Right? Like you want to watch, they made their own. And
We need to talk about that LL
yeah,
commercial.
you know what I'm saying? So but
that was some bullshit.
that trickles down. So like when people see us, you're gonna see us wearing our own, right? Like we gotta put a suit on, yeah, we're gonna design our own. Right? When we gotta wear something, we're gonna design our own. But that's like the representation part that gets trickled down to this generation, where now it's like we could be looked at as a fashion couture label now, not just entrepreneurs who actually know something about financial literacy. We become global in a bunch of different ways, a bunch of different avenues, but we've seen it here. You know what I mean? Like that's the power of impact right there.
Has it changed though? Has the perception changed to the and this is again for all three of y'all? Has it changed?
How's what changed?
When you walk into a corporate office, we used to a suit was mandatory because you look like you look. But now
I let him go.
do these same folks after years of doing business with us and seeing how we do things in the market and seeing how we got the sauce, seeing how we're able to source out everything we touch and we got the juice. Do they see this as money now?
It's one thing I learned early on is life's golden rule is the man with the gold makes the rules. So like he said, it's all about leverage. Mark Zuckerberg could wear a hoodie and he never got questioned. And that's been popular in the tech world for a long time. But they had the leverage because these is billion-dollar companies. When you see, I just came back from the Middle East. You see they walking into meetings with their custom garb on. Nobody's paying because they billionaires. They can wear whatever they want to wear. So of course, you have to use some level of intelligence. You coming just out of college and you dress like I am now and you go on to Wall Street, it's not going to work out for you. It's not.
Right.
But now they know who we are. So if we're going into a meeting, we can wear whatever we want for the most part. Right? Because they already know who we are and they're trying to court our business.
Your resume speaks. Your
Exactly.
reputation precedes.
So I think that gotta use some. I was talking to Jim Jones about this, and even he said it. Like you gotta use some level of intelligence when you're dressing. Dressing is very important. How you carry yourself is very important. This is why it's important to understand. Like you put a tattoo on your face, right? Well, if you're a rapper, then that's not a big deal.
That's your uniform.
Yeah, but if you
Damn. Taking shots.
Pull it back down for just a second.
All right. There you go.
But it's no. I'm just saying, like it's not a big deal in the community. Nobody's gonna bat an eye at that every day. But like I said, if you go to Wall Street, then that might be a big deal. 20 years from now, it might not be a big. They might have evolved to a point where that's not a big deal.
Right.
So you just have to know your environment, the leverage that you bring, and what are you comfortable compromising? Because at a certain point, we it's all about life is about compromise, right? And this is something that's extremely important to understand. Compromising doesn't mean that you're selling out. It just means that you're moving in an intelligent manner, right? Like if you invite me to your wedding, I'm gonna dress accordingly because I don't want to disrespect you, right? Even if I never have a suit, I'm gonna buy a suit, right? Just because, or I'm just not gonna go. I'm not gonna say, well, this is how I feel like dressing every day, so I'm gonna show up with a sweatsuit to your wedding. That's not intelligent.
Do you think we lack compromise? So many of us don't want to have to.
We lack intelligence on a certain level to even understand etiquette. A lot of people don't even know how to tie a tie.
So you telling me?
But is it intelligence or just the rebellious nature of not wanting to conform?
I think it's a little bit of both, but it's also a certain amount of not being educated. And this is when I was talking to Jim, and he was like, he didn't know how to tie a tie. I don't think, or somebody like, usually your father teaches you how to tie a tie. So if your father's not there, if your father doesn't know how to tie a tie, then that's going to hurt you, right? So a lot of these things are taught to you by somebody who has a higher level of understanding than you have.
Mhm.
This is how you grow, right? When somebody sits you down and say, look, this is an environment. This is how you have to move in an environment. This is how you handle yourself. This is how you carry yourself. This is how you dress for different circumstances. This is how you address certain people. This is how you address a lady. You open doors for women. This is how you address children.
Right.
If none of that was ever taught to you, then it's like a free fall.
Right.
You don't know how to talk to kids. You don't know how to talk to adults. You don't know how to talk to
Right.
you walking around with your pants down in front of a 70-year-old. Like, it's just certain things that you might not even be aware that this is not the most intelligent way to go about it.
How much do we respect that? No. How much respect do we have? A lot of what you just talked about, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm literally asking. A lot of what you talked about is tradition, and for lack of a better term, I passed this down. He passed that down. Tradition. When I, as a shorty, see the guy who doesn't know how to talk to a lady, pulling a lady. When I see the guy who doesn't wear a suit ever, but he's got all the money, he's buying all the cars, the people who work for him are wearing suits. When I see someone who doesn't know how to tie a tie, but he's got a chain on, and it costs more than my tie.
Well, let me say one more quick. So this goes back to understanding that if you really think about it, we don't really have a culture. We don't have culture as Black people in America. What I mean by that is, like, if you look at, like, if you go to Asia or Africa, this is 300, 500 years. You go to weddings, they wear traditional garbs. They have ceremonies. You got to talk to the family. You got to give the family a gift before you marry their daughter. We don't have any of that because we just kind of makeshift. We just making up things. So if you go to our weddings, we dressing like Europeans, but that's not our culture. But we don't really have a culture. So we're just pulling different things from out the air.
So again, I gotta ask, like, is that our rebellious? Is this us trying to create our own culture? Because at the same time, like, you've made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars off of catering to what we want to wear. You dig what I'm saying? So I think that has to be part of a culture.
I think it's assimilating a bunch of cultures together, right? To say, like, oh, this is one of ours. But I think it all revolves around kind of like what he's saying, right? What's our level of education around the topic, right? What's our level of exposure around the topic? What's our level of experience around the topic? And then can we execute all those things, right? How can we do all those things? So if I'm not educated, who am I around that can educate me? Who am I seeking who can teach me, right? If I saw that dude and that's not how I want to do it, let me follow that guy, right? But the problem is we look at that dude, like the teacher, and like, oh, he's a cornball. Nah, but he's a married man and he was raising 3 kids and has a solid job, right? Like, who we getting our education from? Who's exposing us to the information? It could be the dude on the corner, like, yo, shorty, nah, this ain't what you supposed to do. But a lot of times we don't have that, right? Like, they say, like, these OGs is missing. Like, me and him have that same common bond where it was like, I don't know who our OGs was. I know we had our fathers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they led by example. So now it's up to us to say, like, all right, we saw what they did. We like some of those characteristics about what we saw. We're going to educate ourselves around it. Now it's time for us to set the example so that the next generation, like my young boy right here, he can execute on the things he's seen. Now we pass it down to him. Now his job is to do the same thing. But we skip it. Like, we skip all those steps. Like, the guys that were looked up to, when you think about it in life, why are we looking up to them?
Because they made it look sexy.
Right? But as you get older, you realize, like, yo,
that shit wasn't sexy.
Shit wasn't sexy at all. You know what I'm saying? You're like, yo, this dude is standing on the same spot that he was
they stopped looking sexy. It stopped looking sexy because
it depends on who you was looking up to.
No, when they brains is on the goddamn floor, that shit don't look sexy.
It stopped looking sexy.
When you in jail for 30 years, that shit don't look sexy.
It stopped looking sexy.
Because you got a better... So I say that to say, it's about, we're renegades in this. Like, we're still forming our culture, right?
Right.
So it's like, we're breaking rules. We're breaking rules. I don't know.
Setting new traditions.
I don't know your background, but I'm assuming that you didn't have a mentor to tell you how to start a media company, so you figured it out on the go, right? And there's beauty in that because you don't have any blueprint to follow. Like, even us, like, I never listened to any podcast before we started a podcast, so I didn't know how to format it.
Likewise.
That's a
Right.
that's a good thing because you don't have anything to copy,
Right.
right? So we have the benefit. There's a blessing in every curse. We've been through a lot in our experience, but the benefit of not having a culture is that you get to create your own culture, and you're not stuck with the same, principles that you have to follow, those same rituals, stuff like that. That's actually can be a benefit. So you ask like the suit, and you could do it all.
Mm-hmm.
Like us, like we don't wear suits every day. We wear hats, we wear sneakers, we wear hood. But if it's time to put a suit on, we can put a suit on.
Can the lack of standards be a detriment, though?
It depends, man.
That's why I'm asking.
I seen Diddy throw formal parties and show up in a tank top and Timbs. You dig what I'm saying? And
You
just
got
walk
the
around the
power.
party. What you gonna say? Like
You got the leverage, right?
You know what I'm
You got the
saying?
power.
You don't like it, you out.
Rest in peace to my man YB. I wore a suit to his funeral. Everybody suited up. I walk up to the casket, and he got a fitted on with some jeans, and I could just hear him laughing, like, yo, I got dressed up, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I feel like with our culture, I'd like to get to the day where if you have a business meeting with someone that's Japanese, they gotta dap you instead of you bowing. You know what I'm saying?
I guess that would depend on where you have the meeting at. If you had it in Japan,
Well, if you coming to
probably
me,
wouldn't.
we gonna do the handshakes. We gonna do
So happy to do that.
Look like the NBA role.
You know what I'm saying?
Sitting there doing LeBron.
Word.
I'm thinking, I think we do need a culture, though. I mean, there is a culture. I mean, we would talk about culture. Everybody use the word culture, but no, there is a culture. But
Right.
I mean, listen, we all come from Africa, but sometimes I don't feel like they don't want us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I've heard that a
Like we
lot.
cast outs.
Right.
what I'm
Mandela
saying?
came here and bounced.
Yeah.
I've
So
heard
it's
that a
like
lot.
we need to figure out at least the people that can go forward. That's going to be the messengers to just start formulating the culture and starting today. You know what I'm saying?
But do we agree? Can we agree that we're influential as Black people, right?
Absolutely.
Globally.
All across the globe, right? So it's our culture that helps influence, right? Because part of culture is being influential.
It's
Right.
culture, yeah, it is. But the thing about it is, like you said, there's different parts of culture, right?
Right.
We have a strong entertainment culture, and we have a strong sports culture.
But I think that's too strong.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
it's like my guy 19 Keys said all the time, like, we don't have any standards.
I just
Okay.
said that.
Now that's something
Like that,
different.
you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Yeah,
you
that's
go to
something different.
you go to like these different countries, they have standards.
Right.
You're not gonna do this. You're not gonna marry anybody outside of our culture, outside of our religion. You're gonna do this. You're gonna be a doctor. Like there's so many different standards that they have, right? We as collectively, we don't have those standards. So we have influence as far as our culture for entertainment and sports and fashion. But what does that really mean in the grand scheme of things,
You're
right?
talking about core values.
The
Yeah.
core value
standards.
system.
Right,
What's
right,
the value system? What's the principle?
That's not
That-
in the
that-
the
exactly.
influence.
No,
Right, right.
that depends on who you ask. That depends on who you
Yeah.
ask. Because I would argue that hip hop is a culture. I would argue that in hip hop we do have standards.
What's the standards?
Oh, you must be this tall to ride the ride when it comes to rapping a certain way. When it comes to doing graffiti a certain
You
way, it
said
has a,
you said this tall.
This talk.
this tall to ride the ride. When it comes to if you want to be considered an
but that's
MC.
figurative. He means like literally.
Like literally.
I'm lost.
I see he like 5'4".
Right, nigga, you see Mark P. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Average. Rest in peace, Prodigy. You know what I mean?
I'm like,
Like, right
maybe
here.
he's
right?
maybe he's 5'5".
Let me help out.
about to
Let me help
say.
out. If you want to be considered an MC, you have to write your own rhymes.
But you talking about music though.
No, I'm talking about hip hop culture.
But this is
Music is only one element of it.
Do you?
There are 4
All
elements.
right, wait, go back to that. So in order to be an MC, you have to write your own rhymes?
Yes.
Is Kanye an MC?
No.
oh, this is gonna be a whole different debate.
Oh, it's about to get
I didn't know he wanted. I didn't know he wanted to do that.
So
but the
because
answer is no.
because what you're probably saying is to me is always I keep a distinction as well. There's an orator because if I give you something to say and you say it really nice, make it sound like it's yours.
Yeah.
yeah.
But then if you're an MC, you really actually writing. That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
But once again, you go Jay-Z 1996. He said all blacks got in sports and entertainment.
Talk about it.
Yeah, I didn't agree with him when he said
But
Why not?
Look, we said something.
because
we said
I think we have more than
we
that.
said, well, we said
All right,
we do have more than that.
we come
But
back
I'm
to that.
saying, but we said the standards for our culture, and the first thing that you referenced was hip hop music and writing raps. That goes back to that goes back to this music. Music is only one part. Why is music the majority of what we look at when we think of culture?
Every award
He's
show,
not-
everything that goes on.
What
Oh,
Rashad is saying is that the core value is not the standard that influenced hip hop to have a standard across the country, across the world. Like there's no standard that's saying like, yo, when you wake up in the morning, you must meditate. Let's say that was super prevalent in Black culture. Right?
Exactly.
And it resonated into hip hop. It resonated into this factor of Black, and this factor of Black, and then every nation across the world took into it.
Yeah.
It starts with a foundation.
I think
That foundation isn't
All
there.
right,
The
so I
core
want
standard
to
isn't
ask
there.
you. So I want to go around the room. Like, what are the points of culture that you feel like we have that doesn't revolve around entertainment?
That's why I wanted to talk to what he was saying. But that hold on, with the line. Because the first lesson I ever wrote was about that line. All Blacks has got sports and entertainment. And the reason I wrestled with it because I was like, yo, is he on to something here? And so I showed kids 6 pictures, no joke. 30 kids, I showed them 6 pictures. It was Floyd Mayweather, it was Dr. Dre, it was Puff, it was Jay-Z, it was Oprah, and might have been Beyonce. And they knew all 6, right? I said, perfect, they knew all of them. What do they all have in common? Sports and entertainment, right? I showed them 6 pictures of the wealthiest Black people on the planet. How many names do you think they knew?
None.
That's why Jay, what he was saying was correct. Because the 6 wealthiest Black people on the planet didn't get it from sports and entertainment. They got it from oil, they got it from commodities, they got it from cement. You see what I'm saying? And it was like, nobody taught that to us, but nobody even showed it to us. Like, we had to go find it on our own. So like, it's important to understand like what he was saying. It was, I don't even know if he even understood when he was saying it at that time. Like that's all he got, knowing that he's part of that? Or was it to say like, let's go and dig deeper to see if this is really true?
Or knowing that it's not true because you just named 6 people who aren't in sports and entertainment.
But that's
not
but
all Blacks.
but the general audience doesn't
I'm
know
not
who they
speaking.
are.
I'm not. But that doesn't mean that's all we have. See, we focus on music because it's what we end up selling.
Yeah.
And it's the most popular part of something that we created.
It's the greatest export.
Exactly. However, the culture doesn't have anything to do with being sold. That's not DJing graffiti. If you can sell it, cool. But it's still a cultural aspect. It's still the art of the culture.
It's art.
It's still the art of the culture.
Just about this.
I gotta. I mean, how many white kids know what Warren Buffett looks like?
But I'm gonna tell you.
You know what I mean? Like,
right to your point.
I know what you're gonna do. I got it.
Some of them might, but
here's the
Well,
thing.
some of them might know that, my man who sold BET.
Bob Johnson?
But
Some of them might know his face
But
by now.
here's the thing. It's about balance. Black people, we lack balance. It's not that sports and entertainment is bad, because white people have musicians and athletes as well. It's just that they have balance. So I'm gonna give you a couple examples. If you ask anybody in America and say, who's the most 10 popular Black people? You're gonna say Floyd, you're gonna say Jay, you're gonna say Kanye, it's gonna be all entertainers. You ask that same question of white people, you're gonna get Tom Brady, you're gonna get Taylor Swift, but you're gonna get Elon Musk. You're gonna get Jeff Bezos. You're going, like, you know what I'm saying?
Mark
Like, these people are going, they're gonna come up.
Right.
They might even be higher on the list than their entertainers. Media, the same thing. Like, there's not like TMZs exist, right? But for every TMZ, there's MSNBC, there's CNBC, there's like, they have real media outlets that's reporting real information in real time. We 95% of Black media is focused on gossip. That's not balanced. So our focus is on sports and entertainment over proportional to what it should be. Whereas the white is not the same level of proportion. It's way more balanced. And then some cultures, there's no balance. Like, you go to Japanese and there's no balance at all. It's all focused on entrepreneurship and scientists and stuff like that.
System.
Yeah, so that's the thing with us. It's like, when we talking about culture, the first thing we think about is music. And it's not something that is really that beneficial, because that's the only thing that we have. And that's why when Jay said this, the only thing they got is sports and entertainment.
Until we even.
That's a fact.
That's like
Yeah.
the
So
solopreneur.
they become bigger figures than just musicians, right? And so
For sure.
we look for them for political opinion. We look for them.
And which
Yeah,
you
but I don't see Garth Brooks giving his political opinion.
But
they don't care what Taylor Swift is
you're
saying.
not- you're
But that's a
in the space
reflection
where
of too many things. Like, you think about it, sports and entertainment. Why would it be sports and entertainment? These are the things that they can utilize this for. These are the things that they have the power over. They're the owners of these teams. They're the owner. You know, you dig what I'm saying? So that would be, okay, yeah, that's cool. You can have this. The other stuff is like, okay, if you're at the bottom, you're either looking for inspiration or distraction. And what do people usually get distracted by? Sports or entertainment.
The
That's a
reason
fact.
why sports and entertainment is so prevalent is because we can sell it to get financially ahead. That's number one.
You said what?
But you say we.
Because we-
I say it's an I.
Yeah.
No,
These are all individuals.
But we're not talking. We're not talking from an individual standpoint. We're talking. Culture is not made up of just one person.
When you say sell it, you mean monetize it?
Monetize is the word I should have used.
okay.
I'm in with the financial.
Yeah, we don't own
Your arguments.
Irv Gotti said that, right? What Irv said was? Irv
Write
said
this down.
in order to sell
Yeah.
something,
I got to
got
in order to sell something, you have to own it.
Right. The things that we're able to monetize.
Yeah.
That's why it feels as if all we have is sports and entertainment. And so we're
But
famous.
even that, that's a problematic statement that you just made, and that's the reason why our platform was able to skyrocket in such
Which
a short
statement?
period of time, because that's not the only thing that we can monetize. It's not the only thing that we can make money from.
No,
Being
I
involved-
didn't say it was
But
the
I'm
only.
just saying, just the thought process of that is problematic.
But I don't think it's the only thing we can. We're sitting in a room
I
with
was
a
just
dude
about
who
to say,
did not
yeah.
monetize
But
sports
even
or
no, but
entertainment.
even that, we're sitting in a barbershop. This is a brick and mortar business.
Facts.
So, but it's just like to say that sports and entertainment is so highly regarded in our community because we can sell it, we can monetize that. That's problematic because the vast majority of musicians or athletes will never make money from their talent. You know that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a bunch of kids that's trying to rap that's never going to make $1 from rapping. I played basketball my whole life. I never made money from basketball. I didn't make it to the NBA. There's a bunch of kids that's thinking, this is my opportunity to make money. You have way better chance of making money doing entrepreneurship, investing, being a coach. Like, you have way better chance of making money doing media as opposed to doing those two things that's pushed on us. And it wouldn't even be that bad if we actually owned it. Like, we dominate sports, we dominate entertainment. We're talented people. Okay, we get it. It wouldn't be that bad if we said, okay, there's two industries in the United States that Black people run. Not run musically, talent-wise, run the business. They run sports and they run entertainment. That will be billions of dollars in our community overnight. We don't run either one of them. There's one NBA team that has a Black owner who happens to be the greatest player of all time. That's what it had to take for him to own a team. There's no NFL players there's no NFL teams that have a Black owner, and there's not one major record label that's owned by a Black person. That's one out of all of the whole situation. One person has some level of ownership out of all three. That's problematic when 70% of the NBA is Black, 65% of the NFL is Black, 80% of the people that's in hip hop and making music is Black. We don't own any of it.
Even at the next level, you go down to college, right? Like, you go to college football, college that. Think about who the presidents of these schools are,
Yeah.
right? Think about the dean of the schools. Like, the athletes that are there are us. We're the ones making money for the schools. Think about the head coaches. It's a fight to get them,
Facts.
right? Even at the professional level, same thing.
And that's what Dame said too. Shout out to Dame. We're the only culture where it's normal for somebody else to run what we do best. White people, it's normal for white people to run hip hop. They didn't create hip hop. They don't make the majority of the music. They don't make the majority of the trends, but nobody bats an eye. Nobody even thinks about why this white executive is the owner. Nobody even thinks about it. You don't question it.
A lot of us question it. A lot of us question
The
it.
majority of people don't
But
question
there
it.
is
The majority of the consumers don't question.
That's not. Yes, you're right. But there are companies, there are people like the independent guys that start their own record label and do that. And what happens is it gets to the point where it's like, oh, this is getting hard. and I don't want to say sell out because that's a bad word, because if a white company sells to such and such, all of a sudden that's no problem. Okay, no big deal. But if we do something, what are you doing? We sold out. It's not necessarily true. It's called business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So for us, and the only reason why I'm listening to you and I'm saying I've been in business 30 years and people still don't know I'm here. People still, I sold the damn company. And they just keep running that same fucking dialogue, excuse my French. Keep running that same dialogue over and over and over. You know, they are.
So you didn't?
No.
That's crazy.
No.
See, the social constructs got me all fucked up.
See what I'm saying?
I didn't even know that.
So because I'm probably the only one around, like a dinosaur, you think there's nobody else. You know what I'm saying? And I think that somebody probably put that rumor out there. I don't know how it really would happen, but you know, for years we fighting that concept. You know what I'm saying? Like,
It was definitely intentional.
yeah, definitely.
It went way too far for it to be a mistake or just a rumor. It was
So
definitely
they
intentional.
are, this again, there are people out there that are doing it. It's just that it's so small that it's not moving the needle.
And
Nobody
that's
cares.
just like you said, it's about not one-offs, because all of us are entrepreneurs. All of us own our intellectual property. But I always say, none of us make it until we all make it. You know what I'm saying? Like, our success is good and it's inspirational and it's good for us and it does help set a blueprint. But for real change, it has to be on a way bigger scale.
Absolutely.
Well, what's your definition of making it?
Control, power, influence.
Leverage.
Like, we sat down with this politician, Jamal Bowman. He's a congressman from the Bronx. And he was saying that, you know, in Washington, they have lobbies.
The lobbyists, yeah.
Right? So it's like they got like the pro-life lobby, the gun lobby,
Tobacco,
pro-Israel lobby, all these different lobbies for their interests, right? And he was like, as soon as he went to Washington on day one, he had 100 phone calls from different lobbies. And every day since he's been in office, he gets emails and phone calls every single day from lobbies. The one group that has never called him is Black people, because there's no Black lobby. There's no prominent Black lobby. So with this is like, okay, now you have, let's say if Sony was a Black company, you got publicly traded Black companies and $1 billion. Now you can come together, have some level of collective power, force politicians to do different things. Like, this is the game that is being played on the highest level. We still running a rat race on a small level, but that's not something that is going to push the needle forward to really change the trajectory of our people.
Do you think that our people are more individualistic, more narcissistic now today?
It's an
than ever?
individual
I
mindset,
think
though.
we're more in the consumer category, so our power is something that civil rights leaders realized early. Strike. Take our money away.
That goes back to what Jay is saying. Though I agree. I think it is because we're more individualistic. I think we're not team players in that way. I think it's more about the individual shine, the individual.
But there's
aspect.
a reason for that, though.
I'm not negating any of that. I know there's a reason behind it, but I definitely agree that it's more about I want to shine, I want to be comfortable. And I don't want to make myself uncomfortable to benefit you and your kids and maybe you and your family, I want to be comfortable. I'm worried about me and mine.
You see a guy that got, you know, a couple of $100 million in his pocket talking about, taking food out my pocket. Sucking food out your pocket. I got to feed my family. They got $100 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what about?
I don't know how big his family is. You know what I mean? That's how the trust. My aunt's is kind of big. He ain't a lot. You know what I mean?
But what about all of the Black-owned businesses that are very, very prevalent and successful right now in an array of fields in different markets?
When you say Black-owned businesses, so here's the thing. The numbers are sobering. When you realize that almost 98% of Black businesses don't employ more than one person.
Yeah, solopreneurs.
That's not really a business. You just
not a business.
Back
It's
to
a freaking hobby.
individualistic.
Not a business, it's a
Back to
hobby.
individualistic.
You're working for yourself.
But that might not be your
But
choice.
it's not even that.
No, I'm not saying it, but the numbers speak to me and I.
But it goes-
Even if you didn't get big enough to hire anybody
Yeah.
yet, which is probably mostly the case, but I'm saying even that fact, even that stat says you didn't go into business with somebody else.
Yeah, that's partnership. But that goes back to the standard conversation, right? Because if I'm doing it as an individual, then I'm gonna look out for my best interest. Your best interest is gonna be something different. So when we have to create something like a lobby, what are we lobbying for?
Then there's that.
What's it gonna be? Like, what's the issue? What's the topic? What is gonna be the thing that we say, all right, this is what we rallying around?
Like there has to be some level of governance and understanding and cooperation. That's the only thing that's ever gonna work in this world.
That's where you're gonna have an issue.
Well,
Trying to get people to get on board that platform is where I think you'll have an issue.
well, what you do is, so here's the thing. You don't start cooperation at the higher up level is a lot easier than trying to get 1 million people to cooperate. Because ultimately, people are driven by leadership, right? So like we just came from UAE. And if you know anything about the UAE, like they just hit oil like 50 years ago, right? And there's 7 emirates. So when they hit oil, the leader of Abu Dhabi, which is the most powerful emirate, called a meeting with the other 7 sheikhs, because they're all leaders, like Abu Dhabi, Dubai, they were all independent of each other, and said, look, it's more beneficial if we come under one flag and we work together. And they did that, and now they're one of the wealthiest countries in the world. But they didn't vote on it from 1 million people on the ground, and you know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, this is what was gonna happen, this is gonna happen. And then from there, it all trickles down. So we don't need every single person in the world to get on board. But if there's 10 black billionaires and they all come together and form an alliance, now that's real power.
Why hasn't that happened?
Because this is like 1,000 other billionaires just like, nah, we ain't feeling that shit.
Let that happen.
Kind of right now.
I'm thinking about the mentality of the people who would not want to see that happen, because
I mean, just based on the numbers perspective, right? 10 years ago, did we have 10 black billionaires?
Exactly.
Yeah, true.
It's new.
You know what I'm saying? We just getting to this point.
We just getting here.
Right now. Like, we just lost one.
Why they got to be billionaires?
You know what I'm saying?
Like
that quick, we just lost one.
Why they got to be billionaires? That's why they got to be billionaires.
Because the people who would not like to see that happen have those kind of resources.
I say that if we just got 10 men together that agreed on the same thing, they're billionaires.
Not big enough in this case.
The money is
You gotta
important.
catch what I just said.
Yeah.
And if you didn't catch what I just said, listen again. Because then you have to show me 10 men that are together, that are on the same page, and show me that they have not been successful. And you won't be able to do that. Now, as I said, 10 men, if you put 10 men together that have on the same page, the same ideology, that's billions.
That's a successful team. I get you.
Italians
I
did
get
it.
you.
That's billions.
It's finding the people who are going to be on it. This room is filled with people who follow that philosophy. These two dudes, they didn't do it by
When it comes
themselves.
down to it, we wouldn't agree.
But they managed to agree. 4 dudes over here, FUBU, managed to agree. You do what I'm saying? The team in this room, we managed to agree a couple times a week. We get together and do this. Like, I'm completely on your side. I think when you start hitting, I think the higher up the money goes, the more you have to lose to an extent, especially if you have there's a phrase for it, but I can't think of it. Especially, you know, that if a family of squirrels found one nut, they'd bury it in the backyard and cover over it. Like, when you have that mentality, you're not willing to risk anything, because what comes with risk? Not being comfortable. And most people I know do not want to risk being uncomfortable long enough to get to the other thing. That's where the lack of patience comes in that we talked about earlier. You need patience because it's going to get uncomfortable. The market's going to crash. You're going to lose a whole bunch of shit. You're going to start pulling your money out because you don't want to be uncomfortable. God forbid you can't pay that bill on time, and God forbid you can't go do that $500 date.
You said $500 a day?
Oh, this is the guy.
I took it down to 350. I took it down to 350.
What he's talking about.
I thought it was 300.
Nah.
Mav, you can't take nobody on a $500 date, bro.
What you talking about?
You too big now, homie. They expecting at least a minimum of 5,000.
$1,000 dater. It's still dinner. That's what it takes somebody to dinner. That's the new show. You know what I mean? $1,000 dater.
Math, look at that in the face and say, yo, my man from Earn Your Leisure said it's 500. That's how much I'm
Yo,
spending.
I'm just saying, bro. It works. On the base level, as far as this topic, though, can't go to war unless you get your money right.
That's a fact.
We have to acknowledge that there is a war going on. We have to acknowledge that there is oppression. We have to acknowledge that there are people who would like to keep us as maids and people mopping the floor, people driving the bus that want to keep us there. You feel what I'm saying? Once you acknowledge that, then kind of moving publicly as a unit, we see that don't work.
And just understanding. Well, this goes back to the culture thing, right? So we was in London and we stayed in Chinatown. We stayed in W in Chinatown. So the cab driver, he's driving us and he's telling us like, yo, I'm surprised you guys are staying there because only every time I take somebody, they're Chinese. I'm like, what you mean? He's like, well, a Chinese guy owns that W. And it's in the heart of Chinatown. He was like, all the Chinese, every single time they come to London, they only stay in that
They know
hotel.
where they're staying.
But that's because they're supporting their own.
Yeah.
But they don't even look at it as supporting their own. It's a cultural thing where they stick together.
Right.
And that's something that, to your point as well, it shouldn't even be a thought for us working together. It shouldn't be a thought of I gotta buy FUBU because it's black owned. That's just the common, just what you do. You know what I'm saying? That's just what you do.
Exactly. Right.
We got a whole generation. No, excuse me. We got a whole group of people, large group, that believes white ice is colder. Like too many people will skip over.
We've seen people almost get there. And the thing I don't like, it's like, we all know the handicaps. We all know the handicaps. It's rehearsed too much. What are the solutions?
So,
what are the solutions? If you were in power tomorrow, what do we do next?
I think we're leading by example right now.
absolutely.
I think what we're doing right now, like you said, like it gets overlooked because they just see us. But like, nah, this is two black men who created a media company, not to really highlight ourselves, but to highlight others who have brilliance, right? So like, you can see something that's aspirational. You can see something that's attainable that you never would have thought of. So you don't have to make the decision and be like, yo, I want to be the dude on the corner. Yo, that truck that just passed, yo, that's an 18-wheeler. That's a business I can have. You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's happening. That's why we call it the financial revolution. Because you spoke about the civil rights movement. Like, we weren't born for that.
Right.
But the problem with it was like, yo, it had specific leaders, right? So when you cut the leaders out, what happens? The movement dies, right?
Yeah.
But with us, the information is the leader.
Well, it makes it easier now.
That changes the game, right? Because
More access.
Yeah,
you got game while you was, locked up that you can now apply. They can't stop you. You're now a leader. She heard some information on Monday night that she made 100,000 on. That changes her family's life. You might have heard something, right? All we did was provide the information, and once it's there, you can't stop it. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's like it's a different time right now. That's why I said this is the moment where it's like two brothers came together. We're leading by example, but we're highlighting others so that they can shine.
And it becomes normalized. Like you said, like we talk about the problems too much, but what's the solutions? But I think when you're exposed to things, your environment, it changes. Like I said, for me, I never had that issue. I told you, like my parents, like when they was young, they was in the Nation of Islam. So I was always taught just everything black. Like, you know what I'm saying? My whole life. So I never looked at that as anything that was unnormal. Even to this day, like I got my dentist is black, my doctor is black, my accountant is black. Not because I don't get along or work with white people, but why would I not want to go with somebody that's black? I'm always gonna go for the brother man over the other man. It's not for any other reason other than he's black. He's a black person.
And it's crazy that they'll do it, and we look crazy by doing it.
Exactly. And every other group automatically does that. Like
We're the only ones who get shouted out for not doing
but
it.
we're the only ones that even have to
Defend
explain why we are doing
Right.
that. Like Jewish people, like I worked in Park Avenue, and everybody in my office was Jewish, and they don't have to explain why their doctor's Jewish. They don't have to explain why that. It's just this is my community. It's common sense.
It's
Why would I
not-
not want to support that?
I think the biggest thing for me is when I was young, identity meant a lot. And not having my father in my life, not knowing my legacy or my family's legacy, it left me to be open to what people told me. When I went to school, oh yeah, pictures of, you know, people with chains around their necks and shackles and all that. And this was the hype. You dig what I'm saying? Or you know, if George Washington Carver, you know, they'll talk that shit. You know what I mean? They won't tell you, yeah, Black Wall Street. Nobody knew about that. You know what I mean? So, but identity is very important. I think people need to be able to connect themselves to something greater than themselves, to aspire or feel like it's already in me. I can do that. You dig what I mean?
Absolutely.
Part of it though is people should want better. I don't think a lot of people want better. And if you know better, do better.
It's how to get to the better. Going back to what you said, and I don't mean to cut you short. Going back to what you said, I think there's a strong element of getting us all when it comes time to get the unity popping, right? Of course we're the ones whose unity has always been discouraged. I think that needs to be put on the table heavy. Our unity is always discouraged. We're sitting around acting like Black people just can't get along. Don't think that shit. Our shit is discouraged.
It's been systematically.
Specifically.
But this ain't our block.
I
say this all the time.
But we don't.
We keep acting like this is our block. This ain't our block.
We don't acknowledge enough what comes with that. We act like we have the monopoly on foul shit. Fighting in the street. We act like we the only ones who can't take Black people nowhere. Bro, you just not in white neighborhoods. You don't see when they wilding the fuck out doing the same shit. Like, our unity is discouraged.
Because it's dangerous. Because it's dangerous.
I was just going there.
J. Edgar Hoover, they has the whole FBI report. I'm sure everybody already knows about that. So it's like, this is what I'm saying. The unity is extreme. The culture, it's been purposely suppressed and purposely broke apart because they understand that that's the most dangerous thing in the world. When people start to really come together, really start to working together and understanding, that's dangerous.
That's when you get the group of
why
folks.
is it dangerous?
Because now you're a threat to the power system.
The infrastructure.
Shaking the
That's why I said
institution.
but not just the threat. But
Take your money.
you could get petty. You can get petty.
And that's
if you wanted to
innate
think
fear.
about everything that our people been through,
That's an innate
and you
fear.
got in power, you could get petty.
Because if you're in power now, you have
You know what I'm saying?
you have the leverage.
So I have a question.
So I would never let y'all niggas.
But
win.
even,
I would never do it. I'd be like, nah,
but even
the shit we was doing, these niggas don't let them niggas.
But
You know what I mean? Like,
it's not in my benefit to allow you to
Right.
win. What was that? There was a real popular thing floating around. I asked my white friend, why do white people always discourage blah blah blah? He said, because we all know that the day you guys get together and decide you've had enough of this shit, we're all terrified of the idea you doing to us what we.
But
do
even
to you.
that is a flawed way of thinking, where they make the victim feel like. You understand throughout the world's history, there's never been a time when Black people have oppressed white people, or any colored people on any part of the world, on any part of Earth there's no historical record of them oppressing white people. There's only been historical records of white people oppressing colored people in every aspect of the world, from Australia to the Caribbean to South America to North America to Africa. There's no place on the world where white people have not terrorized communities. There's no place on the world where Black people have done the same.
So if I was them, I wouldn't be super eager to see them.
But I'm just saying, just that even thought, if it would have.
But we're not getting down like that. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. It's not our nature.
I get it.
It's
We're not getting down like that. We want to be left alone.
We've never
Quietly.
done anything to anybody except for ourselves.
Quietly, we'd like to be left alone.
There's never been a time where we had mass killings of white people anywhere.
it was
Where?
Nat Turner.
But that's a slave reform.
That's deep. It's
not consistent.
Yeah, exactly.
That's deep.
That's not.
No, you read them stories. That was a lot of offense, bro.
No, it was after years and years. That was deep.
beings.
We didn't Viking the shit out. We didn't get on boats, go someplace, slaughter the people out of there, and take all that shit over. And then
Tucson.
That was
still defense.
You can still find examples of this.
That's still defense.
That's
Y'all
a
was
revolt.
someplace you wasn't supposed to be.
That's
We're kicking
a
out trespassers.
That's a revolt.
different.
That's a revolt against oppression that's happening in your land. I'm talking about they didn't go to France
And while
and try to take over France.
Now.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
What's
Like,
the-
and
okay.
Even, and even when the Africans did
I
come,
was about to say, I'll give you one. Hannibal.
but even when they did come, they helped civilize the continent of
Yeah.
Europe. If you understand like what they did to Spain, like they helped
Moors.
civilize Spain. They didn't just come and just tear it apart.
Break the pillars.
So it's different as far as the DNA, the structure.
It's
We
not
don't
our
have
nature
that
to do
same
that
level
shit. Yeah,
of
it's not
wanting
our
to
energy.
conquer and needing to conquer.
Right.
So
White people had a need and a want to conquer, and it's just proven. It's not my biased opinion. You look at anywhere in the earth, they've conquered every single part of the earth.
right.
It's a mentality that was developed through the environment that they lived in. If you think about it.
Yeah, if they
Whole
come out the
region.
Caucasus Mountain and they had no sun and all of that. But
Not just the
what-
sun, not
what-
just the sun, but think about how you eat in a
But
place
yeah,
like
with-
that.
with no
you don't
sun,
know when you're gonna see
it affects the
food
brain.
again. So whatever you see, you gotta cut it down.
But
Everything that you see, because we don't know when we're gonna see it again. You dig what I'm saying?
That mindset is the same thing when it comes to the finances, though, right? That's why I'm gonna hold on to it.
But we should be careful with the narrative of
Which should tell you it's
separating
not our
people.
mentality.
We're all the same, you know, and I think that is going out like now more and more and more to the world. You know, everybody's the same. You know, if you're a human, you're a child of God. So I hear y'all said something about the powers that be and all of that, and I think that is getting classified all the time as wrong. So we'll say, oh, the powers that be is this elite group of white people that's sitting somewhere, you know, but that's not necessarily the truth. They're being controlled too. So we have to put it right at where it's at. We wrestle not against flesh, we wrestle against principalities, we wrestle against a supreme evil. So we shouldn't be, you know, all of us are children of God, and we're all caught up in some type of grand scheme that's making us fight against each other when there's a manipulator that is there that we cannot see with our physical eye that is manipulating us all to fight against each other. And that same person is manipulating us to think that money is going to somehow be salvation, which, you know, and that is the problem.
It's not that money is the salvation. It's money is power on this planet Earth that
Power
we
to
live in.
change.
Power that's in the world that's ruled by the devil.
So even that you
I
saying
know people with not a lot of money, but they probably got more money than me.
you said more power than you. Or more?
I said I know people that have less money than me, but to me, I think that they have more than me. Why? Because they're more comfortable. They're more whatever. I'm every day. I got 3 businesses I'm running at the same time. I'm all over the
of
place.
course.
It's
peace of mind.
peace of
It's
mind.
peace of
They
mind.
have all that.
But what I'm saying,
I'm more grateful for that.
What I'm saying is this: as far as
Amen.
a few different things to unpack in that situation. Yeah, we're all the same as far as human beings, but we're not all the same as far as this goes back to our culture, and that's okay. You can have cultural differences. You could have we're not the same as far as who we are. That's okay, but it's not okay when it's not respected. So, and then going back to control, yeah, there are people that are in control, and these people that are in control, this is just a well-known fact, right? There's countries that's in control, there's people that's in control, and it goes back to resources. So, in order for you to have some level of dignity and control in this world, then you should have resources. Right? If you believe in God, then you understand that, you know, if God is the supreme being and the supreme ruler, but man is the ruler on earth. Man is the supreme being on earth.
No, he's not.
So who's higher? Who has a higher intellect than man?
Satan is the ruler on earth.
So-
and wait, because I heard you with that, and we got to chop it into it. Now, Satan is the ruler on earth, and he takes power and possession over you as a man. And the only difference between us is those who obey God and those who disobey God. There is no difference between that. You've been duped, you've been bamboozled, you've been tricked to think anything other. It was Cain and Abel. That was it. They were brothers. and one decided to kill the other because of his own thing that was going on in his head. That's still the same thing that's going on to today. Now, when you go deeper than that, you already understand that it comes from demon possession. Man is under demon possession, and when we come under demon possession, yes, that demon, that devil, that entity can take control of you and now make it look like you are the one that is orchestrating this great evil.
So the
But
answer,
it's not you that's orchestrating the great evil. It's a power
What's the
that is
answer?
deeper behind you.
what's the answer?
The answer is for one to acknowledge who your enemy is. If you don't acknowledge
Right.
who your enemy is,
Okay,
you can't
all right. The enemy
give
Satan.
your life
Now
to
what?
Christ.
Give your life to Christ.
Give
You
your
ever
life
seen
to
the
Christ.
church get shot up bigger?
What church?
You ever seen the church get
is a
shot
body.
up bigger?
The church is the body.
Have
You're
you
talking
ever
about a
seen people in the church
You're
get
talking
shot?
about a building.
Have you ever though? Has it happened? Has it happened?
If giving your
I'm
life,
asking you.
if giving
I'm
your
asking you,
life,
has it happened?
let me finish.
Has it happened?
If giving your life to the Lord and
All right, man.
he decides to take your life in any way that's going to be taken, you have no power over
All
that.
right,
That
then-
is going to happen
then that's not
anyway.
fixing nothing.
But who said it's not,
It's not fixing
anything?
nothing. You still gambling.
Who said it's
I
not
don't know if
fixing
God got my
anything?
back.
Who said
But
it's
I'm
not fixing
gonna
anything?
stay over here. Nah, bro.
Who
Come
said
on.
it's
It
not
takes more than
fixing
that.
anything?
It takes more than that.
It
Bigga.
takes money.
We all know that, man.
It takes money.
It takes a lot
It
more
takes
than that,
wealth.
bro.
Listen.
It takes wealth to fix it.
I got
Let's
a
just
point.
hear now. That's what we're saying here. It takes wealth to fix our situation.
Nobody's saying it's just wealth.
No, I
Thank
think
you.
nobody
It's a bunch
said
of
it's not
factors.
just wealth.
It's a
Somebody
bunch
said it
of-
was
it's
just
mad factors.
Let's
It's
be
not
real
just
here.
wealth.
Let's be real. Let's be real.
Hold on. Let me say something. I think we spun off into a different conversation. And you're free to believe whatever you want to believe. And everybody here is free to believe whatever they want to believe, right? This is a free world and a free country. You can believe whatever you want to believe. So I don't want to belittle your beliefs. But they tell, okay, pray in the church. And where has that gotten
No,
us?
it's okay. It's
Right.
big. It's bigger than that. Hold on. It's bigger than that. One thing we all agree on, and that Big is touching on, unity. Right? I think we can agree on that. And so I think both sides of the aisle, for lack of a better terms, can agree on the fact that we're all saying we need to be on the same page.
I agree with Bigger on the sense of unity and morality.
We
It's
all need to
needed.
be on the same page. And
know what I mean?
morality
And-
enters into why
and-
we're being unified.
And when you dedicate your life to a higher power and you follow certain rules, you're not going to cross the people that surround you. You're going to keep the community in a certain structure. I respect that.
my
But it's
response
not,
to that.
that's not the end all be all.
No. And to piggyback on that, because I agree with you, but to piggyback on that, if you have morals, doesn't really matter if you have religion in order to unify with somebody. If I got a moral code and I'm not a religious person, I'm not even a spiritual person, my moral code tells me, don't stab my brother in the back. Be a man about your word. Look a man in the eye when you talk to him. You know what I'm saying? What you say, you do. What you say, you do. If we can get on those basic principles,
So that goes back to the cultural core principles.
Which
right?
we
Core
don't
values,
really
core
have.
That's the core
principles.
values.
Yep.
That's the core values.
But one
Yep.
point you're
But it
not
takes
making.
identity.
One point you're not making is the fact that God is a God of choices. So you can have two different beings. You could have A and B, but you have to make that choice. You can go that way, or you can go that way. When I was coming up, I made another choice. I know people that made another choice. They're not here anymore.
That's it. At the end of the
dude,
day,
I'm a prime example of making one choice over another choice.
at the end of the day, if you're not striving to make your life better, your community better, your family better, then what you doing?
Well,
What's
most
the
people
purpose?
stop after that first one. Make my life better.
All right, well,
Hard
even
stop.
try to do that.
Hard
Most people not even trying to do that.
That comes as somebody else.
'Cause-
That'll come as somebody else's to somebody
No,
else's detriment.
even if
though.
you're trying to make your life better, even if you're the most self-centered person in the world, right? Unless you're doing something that's illegal, if you're doing something legal and you're trying to just make your life better, you're gonna better society. You're gonna better society because
By
you're
default.
doing something productive,
Yeah, by default.
and somebody's gonna benefit from that by default.
Yeah,
Somebody's
just by
gonna
default, like I might
Right.
see you just doing something like
No, you're gonna
oh, I
spend
can do
money.
that.
You're gonna patronize business. You're
Yeah.
gonna. It's by default. If everybody is just doing something legal to make their life better, society's gonna become better.
it's the legal part that where you hit the
Well,
bump.
that's why I just said legal.
So what I was gonna say, what I was gonna
That's why I
ask,
said
what I was
legal.
gonna ask y'all was, are y'all familiar with just shifting a little bit, private members associations?
Like
Y'all
Soul House.
familiar? No, it's a whole bunch.
No, I'm saying like so hard.
Like that,
Yeah.
So where you're a part of a collective group, no matter the race or color, creed, or whatever, but you're all a part of this institution. This institution allows you to have private incentives, right? Whether it's on the legal side, whatever. Almost like how secret societies are, right? But private member, I learned about private members association through a brother I know named Coach. He's like, he's very influential, especially amongst the youth, right? All around the world. And he created something called the Gentleman's Factory, right? So Gentleman Factory allows, you heard about that?
Yeah, they got a space on Flatbush.
Yeah, in Brooklyn, yep. So what that allows is for young black men and women to come into this space, be creative as they want to be, and get the support that they need to live out their dreams, right? Whether they're in school, whether they're not in school, whether they're in the street or not in the street, doesn't matter. You have an idea, we got somebody over here that can help bring your idea to fruition. So one of the things that they did that is somewhat of a solution is there's a ice cream, I don't remember the name of the ice cream truck that they have, but they opened it up in Williamsburg in the summer, right? Called the ice cream truck by McConney Park, something like that. And we went around to everybody's crib in the neighborhood with flyers and stuff like that. Like, we're giving out free ice cream to everybody, right? It was one truck, and then, of course we kept bringing in supplies, but we was able to serve about 1,500 to 2,000 people with free ice cream. Next week, when we came back around, the whole neighborhood supported the business, right? And that was because one black man who has the dollars and the power said, I believe in what you're doing. He gave this young black woman, the education she needed and the funding she needed. He presented her with the opportunity. That's your idea? Let me taste your ice cream. Well, this is really, really good. What do you want to do? And now we got the community involved. Now we have other young black men and women who say, I can do that too. And I'm saying that to y'all because y'all help to educate these young black men and women on that aspect, because prior to that, all they knew was the streets. Until they start watching Earn Your Leisure, until they start looking at people that look just like them, doing some of the same things. But the main thing is that they're presenting them with the opportunity and giving them that information. So one of the solutions that I see is like, you have to be engaged with the community.
Right.
Regardless of the race, the creed, whatever subculture we in, above culture, doesn't matter.
We're back to unity.
Yeah, but that's what that's just the beginning of our journey.
Right.
Like we from the same community, went to the same high school. Our community center was our first jobs. The program we created was to teach kids about financial literacy, right? Where everybody, like I was teaching, obviously he was a financial advisor, but while people was taking their summers off, like that's what teachers love. Like I got my summer off, like they vacationing. We in a band room with 30 kids, teaching them about etiquette, teaching them about financial literacy. You know what I'm saying? Like we understand, like we're gonna pay them at the end. It's like, all right, well, what we be doing them a disservice if we didn't teach them about what it means to have money, the principles of it, having a good relationship with it. You see what I'm saying? Like those things that they get at 14, what's gonna happen when they 18? Now when they 20, when they 25, like think about how far ahead they're gonna be. That was the mindset. It wasn't like, all right, let's just get this money over the summer and then we'll take it and we'll go. Nah, it was like, yo, how far ahead can we set the next generation? And every summer, same thing. And while we're doing it, let's build up the people who's with us. Like he been with me since he's 9 years old. Like 9 years old, bro. Like,
but that's
you know what I'm saying? Like that's my man right here.
Okay.
No joke. 9.
Got you.
Single digits.
Wait,
Wow.
how old is he now?
20.
Sheesh. 26, bro.
But when I was
But
26.
that's what I'm saying. Like that's
when I was 26.
That's how you build what you saying, community, right? But I took that from hip hop. That's how it all comes back to it. And I know you're gonna kill me because it's Jay, but I was listening to Coming to Age.
Why would I kill you? Because
Nah. But that's coming to age, right?
Right.
As he's growing and he's becoming a professional, he's already watching who can he train to be the next person to take his spot.
Right.
That's a valuable lesson. So I'm looking at the dudes in the neighborhood. Who's going to be the next person that can come take my spot and give back the same way?
But then also, so you had to ask the question. You said, "Is money the answer?" Yeah, it kind of is, because it's like that's another issue where it's like people think money is the root of evil, and it's like nah, like we employing people. We employ 20 black people, so it's not to say like we just created a business and we could just stunt, we can just do whatever we want. We creating not only inspiration and motivation and information, but we're actually creating opportunities to pay people so now they can have pride and they don't have to commit crimes and they can provide for their family. And then they get enough information and then they're going to do the same thing. And then they're going to do the same thing. And then they're going to do the same thing. So when we talk about business and economics, it's not just about it's a race to see who has the most money. No, it's about this is how we actually repair our communities. Yeah. This is how our children look at us with pride. This is how we have a blueprint to actually have an economic system in place where we can actually provide for other people. And it's like, yeah, we got love for other people. Like, we're not racist, but we have a priority to take care of Black people first, because this is who we are. This is our community. This is who we're around. And nobody else is going to do it if we don't do it. And they're not going to do it for us. I was a financial advisor for 10 years. I had probably 2 white clients. There's different levels of racism. Right now, they're not going to say that, you know, oh, I'm not going to work with you because you're Black. They just won't work with you.
Right.
You understand? Like, I seen it firsthand. So it's like, we're the only community that's so embracing and so willing to work with other people. And you want to brag about having a Jewish lawyer. You want to brag about having an Irish accountant, but no other community has ever bragged about having a Black lawyer. I never heard it.
Yeah.
So if we all embrace it, and if we all in one community, why is it never reciprocated? Why is the love never reciprocated? I never heard them say
damage.
I never heard them say I'm wearing African shoes. They say I'm wearing Italian shoes. I'm wearing Italian leather. I'm doing this
because our unity is discouraged.
There's damage. Your heroes are not. Unless, you know, again, sports, entertainment, there's not many heroes that these kids look up to. They don't look at their fathers or the old heads in their neighborhood as strength.
And that's why we got to create a new narrative. That's what
it's
bias.
That's like when we in media, and you in media.
For us bias, that's a blueprint that was set and trendsetters early. And they played a major part in the culture. And they still are. And that's important. For Us Bias, just the name, For Us Bias, that's an extremely powerful name.
Getting over on the Gap was a masterpiece move. I'd like to know the story.
I don't want to say getting over on the Gap.
Yo, bro, listen. You can call it whatever you want. Wait, y'all doing
marketing. Y'all doing some business with him now? Cause I'll shut up.
Nah.
Marketing.
All right, so yeah, fuck that. Getting over on the Gap was...
Did you ever get a call about that?
Yeah, we know. We heard. There's something went down over there.
So can you explain what happened exactly? So Jay, for people that don't know, can you explain it?
Please.
All right,
What
so
happened
basically,
exactly?
so LL's our guy.
Shout out to the GOAT.
Queen. Shout out to
LL's our guy.
Shout out to
Queen's
LL.
all
Queen
good.
get the money.
They stick together.
So basically,
Yeah, we do.
So basically, they called him, was like, yo, we want you to do this and such. He was like, all right, cool. But if I do that, you know, I'm rocking with this company over here. Is there any way I can, because I'm not going to do it if I can't. He was like, I don't care, no problem, go ahead. So he threw the hat on. But we thought we were just going to get to play with the hat. But then he threw it in the lyrics, For Us Bias on the low.
On the low.
And then it was like, but see, the people knew what that meant.
Beautiful. We knew.
That's all we needed. That's all you needed.
Knew, yeah.
So, but again, it goes back to having people of us in those spaces, because they like, wow, that sounds great. You know,
They
but
didn't know.
they ain't fucking know.
They just needed one of us in the boardroom to be like, hey.
And after that day, there was a meeting to
Wait a minute.
We got to destroy lyricism. They getting over. After that day, saying shit we don't understand.
Fast forward to now.
Somebody
Fast
translate
forward
this.
to now. I really think that Gap should give us a call, to be honest, and we should redo that shit again, to be honest.
Redo it. How would you redo it?
I'd do it like Flavor in Your Ear. Not Flavor in Your Ear. Was it Flavor in Your Ear? What? Yeah, but Flavor in Your Ear.
The remix video?
The remix?
Yeah, I'd do it like that.
With LL again?
LL and a couple
So
other people.
what you think the impact of the situation with Ye
In the Gap.
in the Gap, with them working with obviously our culture?
They working with Dapper Dan right now.
Yeah, that was like
Yeah.
That was like
That's
that's
one off.
done.
But I think they did it one more time. I think they did.
He
I think
just dropped
did it. He just did another one.
sweatshirt line with Dapper.
I got the Dap.
It did well and do it again. Again, like they suffering. You know, Gap is suffering. They got to figure out how to get it. You know, again, it always comes back to our dollar.
Yeah.
Always comes back to our dollar.
Yeah.
You know, what we say in a song, how we wear it, what we do. You know what I'm saying? It always comes with that. And if we don't figure out how to use that power, We the dumb ones.
You know what? Right there.
It's hot for trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rappers. Got bars I can hang with the backpackers. Trap star, I don't hang with the backpackers. I'm in the hood with the work you heard. Making fiends leave earth you heard. Got your baby mama thirst you heard. Feel the flow, nigga, throw it in reverse. This the way you need to surf you heard.